name, of course, but at the height of his fame when he starred in his own national TV show, I was 10 years old and only vaguely aware of him. I didn't read the tabloids and knew nothing of his tumultuous romances and difficult divorces. I had no idea he was fresh off a 10-month knockdown drag-out affair with fiery country star Tanya Tucker. Had I known, I might have bowed out before I bowed in. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. In this case, ignorance led to bliss. The city was New York. The occasion was a James Taylor concert. James Taylor, along with the sublime Joni Mitchell, was an artist who always inspired me. The blind date had been set up through my friend Lynn Williford, whom I had met my freshman year at East Carolina University. Lynn was Miss Majorette of America, and in many ways, my role model. I'd been head majorette of my high school, but Lynn, with her dazzling twirls, spins, and spectacular behind-the-back catches, performed on another level. She was also stunningly beautiful, outrageously long eyelashes, big Bambi eyes, and a sweet disposition. I guess you could say Lynn and I both fit that elusive all-American girl category, although Lynn was in a category all her own. At the 1981 Azalea Festival, she had been crowned Miss North Carolina, where she had the honor of introducing Glen Campbell and his band to the adoring throngs. That's where she met Carl Jackson, Glen's banjo player. They stayed in touch, and a few months later the Campbell crew was in New York. Lynn and I had also moved to the city where we were pursuing careers in dance. My world was ballet and Broadway, Mikhail Baryshnikov and Bob Fosse. Yes, I admit it. I loved Liza Minnelli. I also had a crazy schedule, ballet classes in the morning and dancing 2 shows a day with the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall. I even managed to squeeze in a jazz class in between shows. I was dancing 7 hours a day. I weighed 101 pounds and ate a pint of Haagen-Dazs every day. Ah, the joys of being young. Through Carl Jackson, Lynn made the arrangements for our date. For the first and only time, I told my dance captain I was sick and couldn't make the evening performance. To be brutally honest, my main motivation was to see James Taylor. I was far more a fan of folk and southern rock than mainstream country music. At the same time, I knew that Glen was a star. The prospect of meeting a star is always alluring. I was curious. The date was unconventional, but then again, everything about my life became unconventional. Why should our first encounter be any different? Carl and Lynn took me to the Waldorf Astoria where Glen was staying with his parents. Carl said earlier that day Glen had taken his folks to see Mickey Rooney and Ann Miller in Sugar Babies. I was impressed. Glen was apparently a good son. We went up to his suite where we waited in a lavish living room. Only a few minutes passed before he burst into the room singing Rhinestone Cowboy. Quite an entrance. Quite a man, I thought. He was tall, blond, and handsome. His sandy hair was perfectly in place. His soft beard was neatly trimmed. His light blue silk shirt mirrored his light blue eyes. His zippered boots were crafted of black ostrich. His voice projected an intoxicating mixture of mellifluousness and enthusiasm. When his eyes met mine, I felt myself melting, just a bit. And then a bit more when he said, "Carl, why didn't you tell me she was so pretty?" Music to my ears. It didn't sound like a line, though. Glen sounded sincere. His sincerity, in fact, was so strong, along with his sexiness, that while I was normally a composed young woman, I felt nervous, shy, and even intimidated. The presence of his parents took off the edge. Like me, they came from a small country town, down-to-earth, good-hearted folks without a bit of pretension. They made me feel safe. Dinner at Peacock Alley, in the marble-columned, palm-tree decor lobby of the Waldorf, was somewhat overwhelming. Until that night, the New York I knew was a city of coffee shops and delis, where struggling actors and dancers like me dined on tuna fish and meatloaf. Peacock Alley was the epitome of elegant refinement. I did not feel elegant. I did not feel refined. But I did feel a magnetism coursing between me and Glen. Was I inventing that dynamic? Was I